YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Candace if this is your first time here, and if you are already a subscriber, welcome back. If you have not yet subscribed, please stay tuned, and I promise you that after you see this video, you're going to want to be a part of our community. For 14 years, and in that 14 years I have had the opportunity to not only teach but work with students from 13 different countries. Yes, you heard me right, 13 different countries. I have collaborated and met with and worked with and done programs with students from Israel, Mexico, Norway, India, and other Scandinavian countries. I can't remember all of them right now. Spain, Portugal, Indonesia, Japan, Korea. Okay, and I've done this through various programs that I've done in the summer that have had collaborative opportunities with other countries. So I've worked with students and children from those countries, but now I am a teacher in Indonesia, and I have been teaching here for almost 2 years. And I have noticed some things. And so today's video, I'm going to be comparing who's better, American students or Indonesian students. Every time I interact with people who typically like my Grab drivers and they find out I'm a teacher, they want to know like who's better, like are the children good, how are the children? And so today I'm going to break it down in 3 categories. I'm going to talk about behavior, I'm going to talk about discipline, as in like how well disciplined they are within their schoolwork, and I'm going to just talk about academics, like who's smarter. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, behavior. Now, both schools that I have worked at have been private Christian schools, so I am literally determining on an even playing field. In America, I worked at a private Christian school. Here in Indonesia, I work at a private Christian school. So you have 2 kind of even playing fields where both communities are paying for their education. Okay, and so I am comparing 2 equal communities. I don't think it would be fair if I compared a public school versus a private school. And so I am comparing 2 private Christian schools at that. All right. So let's talk about American students. Let's talk about behavior. While I worked at a private Christian school in America, I always had a behavior chart or like incentives. And so I have taught ages, children all the way from 2nd grade all the way up to 12th grade. And so because I've been teaching so long, year after year, I would progress or go to higher grades. And so I've been able to see children at all different age groups. And so one thing that I've noticed as far as behavior, in America, the students are very well behaved because the parents are involved. The parents are very much involved. If I need something, if I need to talk to the parents, they are there if I need to call them. And so they're very much involved in their child's academics. And so when it comes to behavior, if a child brings home a mark that says, oh, today they were misbehaving in class, the parents address it immediately. Okay, now let's talk about here in Indonesia. Here in Indonesia, I have not really had to talk to parents about students' behaviors. I have been able to come up with my own ways of dealing with that. And it's really through bribery. I have a point system, and this is something that I also did in America. I have a point system where if you are talking or doing something you're not supposed to do in class, you lose points. That incentive program, it works, and the students typically adjust, you know, if I have to talk to them for whatever reason. Also, I don't communicate a lot with the parents because of the language barrier. Some parents I have communicated with, some parents I attend church with them and work in ministry with them. But for the most part, I don't have as close connection with the parents here that I did in America, mostly because of the language barrier. So what would I say? Who would I say? Which country would I say is better? Which country would I say I prefer? They're the same. I know, I'm sorry. But just stay tuned for the rest, okay? But they're the same. It's the same. I have not experienced more stress. I have not experienced less stress. It's the same. The children all behave the same way. There are some children. It's interesting because in America, I had a student who got upset and he stood up and he balled up his fist and he was huffing and puffing. And here in Indonesia, I had a student who was upset. He stood up, he balled up his fist, and he was huffing and puffing. It literally was the exact same. So I wouldn't say either student's behavior is better. All right, let's talk about discipline. And by discipline, I really am referring to like respect for authority, like how disciplined the students are when it comes to respecting their teachers, respecting their elders. One thing I'll say in America, when I was a teacher, I was always older, but because I started teaching when I was in my early 20s, I wasn't necessarily old enough to be my student's parent. And so I do take into consideration now that I'm at the age where some of my students here, I'm older than their parent. And so I do take that into consideration. So I am going to speak kind of like in how I am different. So that it can be fair for the students. But when I was a teacher, when I would give students instructions, the expectations that I had for their behavior, whether or not they would listen, in America, my students always listened. I think it also depended on like the respect that I would command from them, the way I ran my class, and I always incentivized like instructions or things. So it's like if your table is sitting quietly, your table gets 10 points. If you are sitting quietly, you get points, so there was always like incentive. Have I had students who were disrespectful? Absolutely. Have I had students that I had to send out of the class? Absolutely. Because there are some students, there have been students that I've had that, depending on how they regard you or how they're allowed to talk to adults, that's just how they've been. Now, some where their parents were like, "You said what?" The parents were appalled. But a lot of times students don't necessarily understand why they have to talk respectfully to their teacher. Some feel like everybody is the same. Okay. And so that's something that I've had in America. Whereas here in Indonesia, I have also had students who were disrespectful. I have also had students who I have had to send out of my class. I've also had students who they would talk to me however they wanted to. But once again, it was because that's how they were accustomed to talking. And one student even said, but I talk like this to the other teachers and they don't say anything. And so it really is a matter of what they've been allowed to do. So which would I consider the worst? Which would I say is the best? Which would I prefer? I'm going to give this one to actually both. Okay. Once again, they are both the same. It's not that I have more respectful students than disrespectful in any place. It really, in both places, the parents put a big emphasis on respect for your elders. And so, especially here in Asia, respect for your teachers, respect for your elders is a really big deal. And so parents would be appalled to hear that their child is being disrespectful. Same in America, where I taught, the specific school in which I taught, I knew a lot of the parents. And so the parents would be, appalled if I came to them to let them know that their student wasn't being respectful. So both are the same. And lastly, the last thing that I'm going to address as far as students, now this could be the tiebreaker. This could be the thing that really sets both off, and that is academics. Now, I am a teacher of right now I teach elementary, but I have always taught my classes and my lessons in a constructive way. So that just means like I've always been very hands-on, where it's like things that the students can do, very projects-based learning. And so when it comes to my students who are in America, I had a bit more freedom to handle my class the way I wanted to. So I had the freedom to set my class up. I structured it like a Montessori class because that's what I preferred. So I had the freedom to set my class up that way, which allowed me to tap into the different learning styles of all of the students. So that was something that was a great benefit to the students because I was able to do that. Now, also, the Christian school I worked at in America was very small. And so, for example, when I taught 12th grade, I taught advanced placement. I was determined that everybody in that class was going to pass the AP exam, which was something that no teacher sets that goal. But because I only had a small amount of students, I was determined that everybody was going to pass it. And when I taught it, all but one student passed it, and that one student was very close. And so it just allowed me an opportunity to work closer, and the students thrived. And so they exhibited very complex understanding of the concepts they were being taught. Whereas here in Asia, in Indonesia specifically, the students are just as smart. So the students are working hard, they're studying. I have been able this year to be a little more flexible. I've been given the freedom to, especially because now our school is a PYP school, which is an IB school. So now there's more freedom to do advanced things where we can target different learning styles. And so I have seen that the students have been able to grab concepts better and grab concepts quicker. Now, are they grasping the concepts quicker than the American students? No. Are the American students grasping the concepts quicker than the Indonesian students? No. They're the same. I know you're annoyed because I've just said that they're all the same. But genuinely, in my time as a teacher, I have realized that children are children, students are students. And it's really not necessarily the country that matters as much as their environment. What environment is created at home? I appreciate the fact that I've worked in 2 Christian schools because in both settings, the parents put an emphasis on making sure that the students do their best. And so I have experienced that the students are the same. Students who are leaders are leaders. Students who are outgoing are outgoing. I noticed there's a similarity in how girls behave and a similarity in how boys behave across the globe. And so, which do I think is better? They're the same. All of the students are the same. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I promise you the next video is gonna be good. So please make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a video, and I'll be back. Bye.